While millions of people are screaming at their TVs, painting their faces, and getting emotionally destroyed because 11 strangers lost a game, there's a massive group of people who just don't care. And according to neuroscience, their brains might actually be wired completely differently. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will change how you see both yourself and the sports-obsessed people in your life. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Not caring about sports doesn't make you boring. It doesn't mean you lack passion, and it definitely doesn't mean something's wrong with you. But there is something fascinating happening in your brain that's completely different from the 60% of Americans who follow sports religiously. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do so many people care so much? Humans are tribal creatures. For thousands of years, being part of a group meant survival. Your tribe protected you from predators, helped you hunt, kept you alive. And sports? They're basically modern tribes with better merchandise. When someone watches their team, their brain releases oxytocin. That's the bonding hormone, the same chemical that makes you love your family. Wild, right? Their brain literally tricks them into thinking these millionaire athletes are part of their clan. But here's where it gets interesting. People who don't obsess over sports often have what psychologists call lower tribal instincts. Their identity isn't as strongly tied to being part of a group. They're more individualistic. They're more likely to say, I don't need to belong to something bigger to feel complete. And there's actual research on this. A 2019 study found that people with low sports interest showed way less us versus them thinking. Translation? They don't automatically hate the other team just because they're not on their side. But wait, it gets weirder. What happens in the brain of a sports fanatic during a game is legitimately wild. You know that feeling when you're about to open a present? That anticipation? That's dopamine firing in your brain. Sports fans get that same hit during games. Every play, every possession, constant microdoses of anticipation and reward. It's literally addictive. Studies using fMRI scans show that watching your team activates the same reward centers as gambling. And here's the kicker. The uncertainty is what makes it so powerful. You don't know if your team will win. That unpredictability keeps the dopamine flowing. It's called intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive reward schedule known to psychology. The same principle that makes slot machines so effective. Your brain doesn't care where the dopamine comes from. It just wants more. People who don't care about sports, their dopamine systems simply aren't triggered by vicarious competition. And this might be genetic. Research from the University of Chicago suggests that variations in dopamine receptor genes can predict how much someone cares about competitive spectator activities. Think about that. Your complete indifference to whether the Lakers win or lose might literally be written in your DNA. But there's another layer. Sports fans experience something called BIRGing, basking in reflected glory. When their team wins, they say, "We won." When their team loses, they say they lost. Notice the shift? They literally absorb the victory as their own accomplishment. Their testosterone actually increases after a win. Their cortisol spikes after a loss. Their body responds like they personally played the game. People who don't care about sports rarely do this with anything. They don't tie their self-worth to external groups they have no control over. Some psychologists argue this is actually healthier. Your mood doesn't depend on whether some guy you've never met catches a ball. But here's something that might surprise you. People who don't follow sports often have higher need for cognition. That's a psychology term for enjoying thinking. They prefer activities that require mental effort over passive entertainment. They'd rather solve a problem than watch someone else solve it. This doesn't make them smarter. It just means their brains are wired to find reward in different places. While a sports fan gets dopamine from watching a game, A non-fan might get that same hit from finishing a book, learning something new, or creating something. There's also the time factor that nobody wants to talk about. The average sports fan spends about 8 hours per week watching games. That's over 400 hours a year. People who don't follow sports often redirect that time into hobbies, skills, relationships, or careers. Not because they're better people, just because their brain isn't pulling them toward the couch every Sunday. And here's something genuinely fascinating. Non-sports people often develop what researchers call diversified identity portfolios. Instead of having one major identity anchor like being a Cowboys fan or a Lakers fan, they spread their sense of self across multiple areas. Their career, their hobbies, their relationships, their creative pursuits. This actually provides psychological protection. If one area of life takes a hit, they have other sources of identity to fall back on. A die-hard sports fan whose team has a terrible season? That can genuinely affect their mental health for months. Studies have shown increases in depression, domestic incidents, and even heart attacks after major team losses. Non-fans don't have this vulnerability, at least not to sports. Now let's talk about the social side, because this is where it gets complicated. Not caring about sports can actually be socially isolating. Sports are a universal language. They're an easy way to connect with strangers, coworkers, even family. When you don't speak that language, you miss out on a massive bonding opportunity. Research shows that sports talk accounts for a huge percentage of casual workplace conversation among men especially. If you can't participate, you're essentially locked out of a major social channel. But here's the flip side. People who don't rely on sports for social connection often develop deeper conversational skills. They can't fall back on "did you see the game last night?" so they learn to connect in other ways. They ask more questions. They find common ground in different areas. They become more versatile communicators. There's also an authenticity factor. Non-sports people aren't performing interests they don't feel. They're not pretending to care about something just to fit in. In a world full of people faking enthusiasm, that genuine indifference is actually refreshing. Let me tell you about something called identity fusion. This is when people's personal identity becomes completely merged with a group identity. Die-hard sports fans often experience this. The team isn't just something they like. The team is who they are. This fusion can create incredible community and belonging. But it can also create blind loyalty, irrational hatred of rival fans, and emotional volatility based on things completely outside their control. Non-sports people rarely experience identity fusion with any group. They maintain clearer boundaries between themselves and external entities. Some researchers argue this represents a more individuated sense of self. Others argue it means missing out on one of the most powerful human bonding experiences available. Neither is right or wrong. They're just different ways of being human. Now here's something nobody wants to admit. There's a quiet judgment that goes both ways. Sports fans sometimes see non-fans as pretentious, boring, or unable to just relax and enjoy something simple. Non-fans sometimes see sports fans as wasting time, being irrational, or caring about something meaningless. Both groups are wrong. The sports fan finding community and excitement in watching a game is doing something deeply human. The non-fan finding fulfillment elsewhere is also doing something deeply human. The brain just finds its rewards in different places. And this brings us to something important. The things you obsess over reveal how your brain's reward system works. Sports fans have reward systems highly tuned to tribal competition, uncertainty, and vicarious achievement. Non-fans have reward systems tuned to other frequencies entirely. Neither system is superior. They're just different instruments playing different music. But here's what I want you to take away from this. If you don't care about sports, you're not missing a chip. You're not broken. You're not somehow less fun or less capable of passion. Your brain simply lights up for different things, and understanding that can help you stop feeling like an outsider every time sports come up. And if you do care about sports, you're not wasting your time. You're not being irrational. You're engaging with something that fulfills genuine human needs for belonging, excitement, and shared experience. The real insight here isn't that one group is right. It's that human brains are incredibly diverse in what they find meaningful. And that diversity is actually beautiful when you think about it. Some brains want to watch the game. Some brains want to play a different game entirely. Some brains want to skip games altogether and do something else. All of them are valid. All of them are human. All of them are just trying to find dopamine, connection, and meaning in their own way. So the next time someone asks if you watched the game and you have to admit you didn't even know there was a game, don't apologize. Your brain is just wired for different adventures. And that's not a bug. That's a feature. If this made you see yourself or the sports fans in your life differently, drop a comment below. I'm genuinely curious. Are you someone who doesn't care about sports? Or are you a die-hard fan trying to understand the non-fans in your life? Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.